Welcome everyone to a level 1 Starbase guide. Here are the buildings available to us at level 1 Starbase. If we head to training camp, we're gonna see that we can only train 4 units at this level. Marines, looters, flamethrowers, and bazookas. Each unit is special in their own ways. If we take a look at the stats down here, it shows what type of buildings they prefer to attack and their priorities. As we can see, this particular unit targets anything and doesn't have a priority. And for example, this unit prefers to target defenses such as turrets, bunkers, etc. So no matter where you deploy the unit, even if there is a resource building or any other non-defensive building there, they're gonna walk through and they're just gonna attack any nearby turret or a bunker, whichever is nearer. Whereas this unit, for example, it prefers to target resource buildings and drain resources from them, and they're best at their job. So in this case, if we deploy this unit nearby a training camp or factory or anything of that sort, that means they're gonna just walk through and instead of targeting those buildings, they're gonna target either a silo, a bank, or anything of that sort that has resources on them. Once these units destroy the buildings that they prefer to target, then they're gonna target anything else. Just because if they specialize in something, that does not mean that they're not able to attack anything else. So once they're done with their job, with their targeting priorities, then they're just gonna kill anything. If we take a look at the stats up here, towards the middle, it shows, as we can see, the HP of the unit, the damage, their movement speed, their attack range, their fire rate, their cost, and their training time. And down here we're gonna see how much space they take in our warp gates. As we can see, our warp gate currently has 230 space, and if our marines take 10, that means we're gonna be able to have 23 of them in here. So before I get into building a base, I'm gonna show you guys how far and up to what level we can upgrade each building. So that's how far we can upgrade these buildings at level 1 Starbase. And now let's get into building an actual base. So before we get into details, let's talk about each building, what they do, and what happens when they get destroyed. Since our warp gates hold our units, when enemy destroys our warp gates, each unit that we had in that warp gate, they die and we lose resources and the units that were there, which means that we have to prioritize defending our warp gates. So whenever the enemy attacks our resource buildings, whether it's mines, compact houses, banks, silos, or our main starbase, it means that they take resources depending on the capacity of our banks, silos, and our just overall capacity, or how much coins or minerals are in that particular mine or compact house that they're attacking. If our training camps die, nothing really happens. The only thing that the enemy gets is the XP and some materials that drop from the training camp. Whenever enemy destroys our friend's bunker, or any sort of bunker, whether it's friend's bunker or our normal red bunker, which we do not have yet, that becomes available at level 3. So whenever either of these buildings die, the units inside them die as well, which means whenever we come back and we fix our buildings, we have to put units in those bunkers again. Speaking of which, our friend's bunker is the only defensive bunker that we have at level 1, and as we see, our friend's bunker has 10,000 HP. That is more HP than any building at level 1. That is extremely high HP for level 1, which obviously makes sense in a way because we are very low level and we can easily get destroyed by literally everyone because we barely have any defensive buildings or turrets, which is the main reason why our friend's bunker is so valuable. It is in fact the most valuable building to protect, so that bunker itself can protect us. Because if we put this building somewhere towards the edge and enemy can just destroy that building, that is our main defensive building gone, and that means our base itself is gonna be way easier to take just because we lost our friend's bunker. Other than that, we have 2 sniper towers and 2 cannon blasts. Sniper towers are good at killing units one by one, and they have much higher range but a bit smaller damage compared to cannon blasts. Our cannons have much shorter range, they do splash damage, which means that they do area damage and they're good at dealing with multiple enemies at once. But as you can see, their range is a bit short and they cannot always reach the enemies if they are placed behind the buildings. Whereas sniper turrets, they have much higher range, but they're bad at dealing multiple enemies at once, unlike blaster cannons. So how can we position these two types of turrets in a way that they both make sense and we can get the most use of what we have? As we can see, our sniper turret, even if it's behind buildings, it has long enough range to reach any sort of unit, whether it's bazooka, which indeed has the longest range at this level, or any other unit that is trying to attack the building that is in front of the sniper tower, which is the main reason why we should have these turrets positioned behind our buildings. Our cannons, on the other hand, as we can see, their range is way shorter and they can barely reach our enemies even if they're just straight up targeting our cannon, which means that we should have these turrets somewhere closer to the edge. We cannot put these turrets behind our buildings since they won't be able to reach anything. These buildings, for now, until we upgrade them and they have long enough range, they should be positioned in a way that they are still behind our buildings. As I'm gonna show you guys right here, they are about one block behind our buildings because this will be in line with other buildings and this will be behind them because no matter where the enemy deploys their units right here, so if the enemy deploys their units here somewhere, they never gonna target this cannon because it is technically behind this and this building. And the only way for the enemy to attack this turret before destroying the nearby buildings would be to deploy the units that specialize in attacking defensive buildings, such as flamethrowers for example, and that's the only way to reach these turrets if we position them this way before they destroy the buildings. So the base that we're looking at right here, it's an example of a design of level 1 starbase. As we can see, we are using every single building to create some sort of defensive structure so that it's difficult for the enemy to destroy our whole base. So we are defending our warp gate with this friend's bunker, like so, because even though it is barely covering our warp gate, enemy could still use bazookas or any other unit with a really high range in order to just snipe our warp gate from this side, but since we have so little defensive power at this level, we really cannot put our buildings in a way that we can make it look perfect, unlike on much higher levels where we have more structures, more turrets and more of everything really, and we can utilize the structure and the design in a way that we can defend every single building better. So we are not only using our friend's bunker to defend our warp gate, but we are also defending our main starbase and some other buildings. So as we can see, we are really relying on this friend's bunker, which is something that we have to do at this level because we really do not have enough defensive power at level 1 to utilize it in a way that we can make a really good defensive design. And as you can see, we have sniper towers and cannon blasts kinda together to kinda complement each other, and having those two turrets together kinda make a good combo. And if we build our base in a way that we cover every single edge, every single corner, that means that we're not gonna be an easy target for the enemy and we're not gonna get farmed, which is the main reason why we should build a really good defensive base where enemy cannot snipe a single building for free. Maybe they can snipe buildings that have no value to us, for example our training camp or like a factory or something that we're gonna be able to build in the future. Like these sorts of buildings don't really provide any sort of value to us or to the enemy unless they really need the materials that are dropped by those buildings. Like if we have to sacrifice some buildings such as our training camp to have a better defense, if you can come up with a design that is good but you cannot use those buildings that have no real value to the enemy, that means you can put them at a place where they're almost useless, but if it means that you're gonna have a better defense if you put them elsewhere other than within your base or defend them, that means that like in those cases I think it's worth to put away your buildings that are not as useful, not as valuable, in order to defend the buildings that are more valuable to you or the enemy. So that's how we build our base, and now let's talk about attacking. So how do we attack and what units do we use? Well, We don't really have much of a choice here because bazookas are really effective and they are way stronger than any units we can make at this level. In order to activate bazookas, we just have to build a training camp and have enough minerals to activate our bazookas. So while we're talking about this, I'm just gonna put a footage in the background so that you guys can see examples of how many bases, no matter at what XP level you're at, you're always gonna find enough players to just snipe the buildings from the edges, because a lot of players, they don't always pay attention to every single building, and if you can find spots where you can just snipe their buildings from range, that is basically ideal. You can not only grind like some coins for you to like be able to build something or upgrade something, like you can grind upwards of hundreds of thousands of coins or minerals or other special materials with bazookas, just because of how strong these units are and how much flexibility you have with these units. Bazookas are my favorite units, even though I like strikes a lot. I really love bazookas because you can do so much, and if you use them in a right way, you can do a lot. You can grind a lot of resources. You can almost use these units till the end, till like starbase level 6 or something, where you become such a high level that, well, technically at that level you can still use bazookas and just grind some free resources, but at that level you're gonna have such a strong units that you can basically wipe the enemy's base with just strikes, starlinators, and many other strong units. So at that level, bazookas kinda lose value, but you can still always grind resources if you just wanna like few hundreds or few thousands of coins from the enemy just by deploying these units towards the edges. And that's honestly my favorite thing they do, because I really love taking advantage of people that don't position their buildings and turrets in a way that they can cover everything. So right now you guys are seeing some examples of how we can use somebody's poor defense in your advantage and get a lot of coins by simply deploying right units at the right spots. So as we saw, this guide is kinda short. We don't really have that much flexibility at level 1. There's only so much we can do. So I hope you guys enjoyed this guide. I'm gonna be making more guides for higher level star bases. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.